What up, y'all? So, I'm doing a replay of the game I just played, and I will tell you, I didn't enjoy it all the way through. It was not a very fun game, but the ending was kind of something I didn't expect. So, because of that, I'm deciding to replay this throughout. So in terms of like how I started off, I was debating, do I want to be aggressive? Because I had ghouls, and I actually had a pretty good roll. But I was debating on if I wanted to be aggressive early on, or if I wanted to do something, go hero, and play a little differently. But here, probably I think it was around the 4-minute mark, you'll end up kind of seeing the route that I figured this game will ended up have gone. But early on, it was pretty much me against grunts. So I was like, okay, because I had shamans. I was like, okay, I can add 2 shamans, because I was thinking maybe going 2 gold mines, and then getting a third one later, and then getting a third one if we got the tower, because I had cheap units. And I didn't lose like severely. And I figured because I had shamans, I can go 2 of them with the lightning, and I figured I'd be able to win the next wave if he didn't have shamans. And he decided to go like mass grunts. I would probably be able to win the wave, or at least do once again a lot of damage. But in essence, it was still feeling like, okay, we're not winning our lanes directly, but... And I'm also having a view under red, so you guys can't really see any of my stuff at all, unfortunately. But this would have been their rules that we were up against. But like you could see, and I almost thought I was gonna get Nova, but he died just in time, so it looked good for me. But again, he showed a shaman. So I was like, well, damn. I'm not gonna win the lane because his grunts are gonna be stronger than my ghouls. But even then, when you look, I didn't really like overly lose this lane too hard, because the lightning shield took both of them really down, did minor to the tower in terms of damage. But we were still looking okay even at this point. But I believe here it's going to be right around in this point in time, you're going to see what I'm about to say. If I get chat. I don't know if I get chat on there though. See, right here is where I sent that message. And he never responded. He never did respond. But ultimately, blue was hyper weak, and I wanted to know early on, because if he was planning on going for gold mines, it would have been better off for me in orange to go 3 gold mines. Just trying to starve ourselves and cover his lane was just not gonna be worth the time and effort. Because you can lose the tower and go 3 gold mines. You just gotta defend against them really well and then get a good push back. But because he said nothing, did nothing, and as you can see, Orange has 1 gold mine. I have 2. But ultimately, he's already struggling because he's having to now fight multiple units, like multiple lanes. And he's already heavy countered against Banshee, so he's already in his own uphill fight. And then I believe this is where he goes 4 gold mines. And then I see how I say, there we go. So I pretty much sent the, really? Damn. So I ended up saying, we might as well go 3 gold mines. Because we were never going to win lane because of this. He was going to be countered heavy against red. And it was just going to be an uphill battle. And then even then, you can see I was doing a lot of damage. I was holding my lane, including some of theirs. But blue was not making it easy at all, because literally, look at this. We're 7 minutes in, and this dude's got like nothing base-wise. He's just got like absolutely nothing base-wise. And Orange at this point too left. He was just like, yeah, when he said I'm done, he left. And I saw that, and quite frankly, I went a good amount of time not building anything. Because I was kind of just checked out too. I wanted to let them kind of beat us, because I was just over it. I've already lost 5 straight games, due to 3 of them due to blue style of play. So it was like I'm always fighting an uphill battle. And you can only carry so much when you have someone who's blatantly dead laning so hard. But my original strategy was because I had Shims, Mountain Giants, Kodo, Gargoyles, and Demolishers. What I wanted to do was I wanted to possibly go a little aggressive early on, and then sell all of my ghouls, go Mountain Giants, and Shims over the top with demos underneath as my baseline. But because of how blue played, it slowed me down entirely, kind of took me out of the competitive nature. I was like, man, I just wish this would be over with to have a competitive game. But it turned out actually more competitive in the end than I thought it would. Because it was a slaughter pretty much from 9 minutes for a good amount of time. We never really were doing a hell of a lot. But like you can see, I went 3, and inevitably I end up going 4 gold mines. But you can see, I don't build really anything. And then I tear up to 3. So at my point then, right now, my thinking was, this game's already over, so I'm going to give them time to kill us while I'm doing this, and see where it goes beyond that. But the fact is my Tinker with his stun was doing so much work on delaying and just damage. Like, Tinker, honestly, is kind of just... Ever since they buffed him and gave him his 5 armor, he kind of has become kind of a stupid hero. Because he can stun well. His stuns do pretty good damage when you upgrade his secondary build with it. And that was the other aspect being too, is he had a healer. So trying to push into this, kind of questionable. But like you can see, I let my gold mine just grow. And usually I don't normally do this style, but it did actually pan out and work a little bit. I think I let it get up to almost like 1,000, 1,100 before I spent the gold. But the second I started spending gold and took away some of their chance and took away some of their stuff, like this was their last open shot of overwhelmness. And the fact is I don't even know what they did that caused them to take so long to try and kill us. I don't know if they like went in multiple gold mines themselves. I never did look into it. You can see I'm at 1,000 gold mine. And I didn't want to get kicked because even though some games I really would wish I would just love to just flat out because they're not fun to play. It's not really my style. But there you go, I ended up spending my gold mine. You can see I started going for shims, and then I also spent the gold to get bloodlust. And that was the bloodlust. So ultimately now, and then I also added the Demolisher, plus I ended up adding in the mortar. But as soon as I did that, and I switched and started kicking in my damage, things started becoming a little more interesting. Against yellow I had the problems because I had magic as my primary damage. But they had nothing at the moment, really, to do too much against the shims at this moment in time. So it actually created somewhat of a difference. And the most dangerous part for him, though, was the fact that me and him both had 4 gold mines now at this point. So the later the game got, the stronger we became. And against Till, I had Till really dead to rights when it came down to damage. Because I did a lot of damage on Till constantly. Because I had the stun, I had Shaman's Lightning Shield, this, and my shims over the top. Yellow was my biggest hurdle, per se. But on the gold mines, let's see. 2 gold mines, 2 gold mines, 4 gold mines. So actually, even though yellow was my biggest hurdle, he went greedy himself too. But funny enough, if orange would have stayed, he would have wound up probably controlling his lane really well, and we would have lost because of orange, not because of blue. Even though blue was the one who got greedy and kind of ruined us at the beginning. But like you can see, I'm starting to do a lot of just open damage.
Job's done, job's done.
But like I also said, the longer this game went on, the stronger me and Blue became. Blue specifically in the fact that he had his 4 gold mines at like the 9-minute mark. And as you can see, I'm about halfway through, so it went almost 34 minutes. But they did have their ultimate parts where they were doing damage. But like you can see, I was still melting Till. For me, it was just a matter of, can I get yellow? Because yellow was the biggest issue.
Our allies' town is under siege.
I want to say that I went a hero. That this is where I went the hero. Yeah. Because I saw that I was level 5 on my hate tinker, so I was like, yeah, let me go ahead and get that hero. Like you can see, I still have my moves. I just went point base more like just damage and not so much into my front line. But even at this point still, I felt like we really should be winning. I was like, man, there was a few times within this few bit where I was like, can you guys just please end it? Like you can see, I got Shadow Hunter on that one. And this Shadow Hunter actually really started playing a big role. Because this is where I started getting Mountain Giants.
Job's done, job's done.
As soon as I saw the Shadow Hunter, I was like, well, you know what? With him and the Tinker, I was like, if they let me get my Shadow Hunter leveled a little bit, they actually could be kind of screwed. Especially with the fact when you have Mountain Giants in the front line, demos in the back, and then you add the heal with the Shadow Hunter along with it, makes it really hard to deal with. But now, like, if you notice, we're starting to go that air. Kind of trying to counteract us. But like you can see, I'm still melting Till up. Like, Till was still getting melted by my armies. It was just a matter of it. Still had really not the greatest setup counter of pushing yellow. But the benefit I had was is I didn't have yellow every wave. And each time I got Till, that was like pretty much a guaranteed win on us on that fight. But here's where we actually are able to put some pressure, if I'm not mistaken. Because I melt this up, and then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I slice through Till pretty well too. I think he still beats my wave, but he kind of limps through, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, this wasn't the one where he was kind of limp through. But that was the other dangerous part right here, was that he became level 6 on his Shadow Hunter. Because that became like really cheapy damage he was able to pull. But ultimately, he was getting weaker. They were getting weaker and weaker fighting us. And this was kind of what I told Orange, what I was telling Orange at the beginning, was as if Blue was planning on going for gold mines and putting us in a really hard position, it was better off we went for gold mines. And just tried to survive. My Shadow Hunter almost lived there. If he could have taken like 2 more shots, he would have lived. And then he would have leveled up even more. But as you can see, the further this game kept going on, the more and more it was getting harder and harder for them to push. Especially with the fact, because I had a Shadow Hunter in the back healing, and I had a pretty good amount of control up front a little bit because of my Tinker. It makes it hard to consistently push us. Yellow was the only one that had the ability to counter me a little bit. But the other two, I was getting to points I was starting to do a lot of damage on them. But even you can see here, like, Blue was still having a hard time pushing even a lane that was somewhat weakened. But like you saw, my Tinker did a lot of damage and work right there again. I think, yeah, I'm at 2-1 now. I also started upgrading my units to do more damage. But like you can see, I got 3 demos in the background now. And the effect on it, I wasn't going too heavily on the air. And then that did a lot of cheeky damage there. like you can kind of see they were starting to have some issues. And with the tanks started putting in work on the gargoyles. And I think this is actually where things started really hurting him, because his PC stayed alive and was doing damage on the back. And then he ended up being able to help me more on the next wave. Like you can see, his Mountain King melted, and then now that's level 5. But you can see now I'm starting to do pretty significant damage. I believe I went another hero. I can't remember, but I think I went the 3rd hero right before I got level 6. Or I went it right after I got level 6. I think I got him when I was like right here on XP. But like you can see, my Shadow Hunter at this point now was starting to do a lot of work when it came to the healing aspects. It was making our units have more longevity, giving us more strength. And the aspect though that made Yellow somewhat have issues is even though he had a good little counter against my unit per se for magic, he didn't have the greatest. Yeah, he didn't have the greatest of damage because he didn't do any additional damage to any of my units. Versus with me, I had a lot of area effects. So you can see I melted Yellow a bit. Starting to melt red quite a bit. So my damage capability began to spike. The only thing that really hurt us at all was only really at this point Teal's invul. But it wasn't like massive hurting because we already were like starting to get waves ahead. And like you can see, I'm sure, 2 gold mine. So at this point now, because they were keeping control of the lane, but in the end, and then that was the proc. So this actually allowed me to do even more damage onto Yellow before my units rolled on, which even hurt him more. But ultimately now, the only one who would have been on par gold-wise with us would have only been Yellow. Because even though they were holding the lane, they were still 10 gold less than us each going. And at 28 minutes now me and Blue are on the front end. Because they're maxed out on their upgrades. But in terms of unit power and unit strength, we were starting to push them now. And then as you can see, I ended up with a 3rd Shadow Hunter. Or with a 2nd Shadow Hunter. Now I had a few others like Panda and I had Panda and don't remember what the other one was, but I felt like because of my unit base and I didn't think I was gonna get a 2nd level 6 Shadow Hunter, I figured having the dual health, the dual healing wave would be more ideal because I have beefy mountain giants up. and I have beefy damage units of hippos or shims of pop. So because of that, it made way more sense to go ahead and just get the healing. So that way I can consistently keep healing. Because the more longevity my units got up front, that allowed my demos in the back to be damaged. Allowed my archers, because I started spamming archers, to kind of counteract the air, stay alive a little longer and do more damage. And mind you, this was a grueling game for me, like from the start, while playing in it, because most of the game, I wasn't expecting us to win. But then on top of it, Blue doing what he did, what caused me to kind of just start feeling tilted, because I'm like, just like going, man. This part right here, though, is what's from dying, but it could have ran the risk of us killing their castle as well, if that proc would have been just a little further out. So this kind of gives them some hope. But like you can see, I had my invo ready to go too right afterwards. So I pretty much was able to counteract this pretty harshly. And I believe that was kind of their last ditch effort. That was kind of their last ditch effort of pushing us. Because at this point now we had control. No one, Kill wouldn't have his invo ready to go. His invo was pretty much always counteracted to mine. So even if he procced his, mine would be procced right off the next wave after that. So any momentum they would have had, it would have had to have been massive to really stop us. Like you can see, I got my photo there for the extra damage. Oh, that was not it. Priestess of the Moon. Priestess was the third one. So it was Priestess, Shadowhunter, and Panda. But I kind of felt like I didn't have much in the way of range damage other than demos and Dakota. So I just was like, yeah, a second Shadowhunter was just a little more ideal. Hopefully I have like a final scoreboard. I don't know if I do or not though. But you can see right here. Yeah, I do have a final scoreboard. But yeah, I still was my state of mind, and if you look, I was 200 kills over my ally. 200. So I still had to carry him pretty hard once I was to the point of playing again. But I gotta admit, there was a good amount of time I was just ready to sell everything and take the loss. But in the end, it did turn out to be a win. And I would say they deserved it, but it was what it was. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you in another one. Until then, have a good day. Later.